I call this January 10th regular session of the Oconee County Board of Education to order. The first thing we need to do is approve the agenda. Do you need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Ransom and Mr. Bagley, all in favor? Passes 4-0. Next, we need to approve the minutes from our December 6th regular session.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Bagley,
Second.
second, Mr. Ransom, all in favor? Passes 4-0. Next, we have recognitions.
Good evening. Good evening, board members and Mr. Superintendent. If you'll come forward for January 2022 recognitions and as they come forward, I'll note that the art display this month, right out here in the hallway, is provided by students of Collin Ferry Elementary School, and their instructor is Allison Winter. First up tonight, we are really pleased to recognize two of our district community partners. First, the board will recognize community partner Oconee Chamber of Commerce. The Oconee County Chamber of Commerce supports the Teacher of the Year program, student scholarships, and provides $10,000 annually in teacher mini grants. Courtney Bernardi, Oconee Chamber President, will now accept the award. Come on up, Courtney. You'll be
Right there. Front center.
That's right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you, Courtney.
And next, the board is very pleased to recognize district community partner Piedmont Athens Regional Oconee Health Campus. Piedmont Athens Regional's Oconee Health Campus provided approximately 800 COVID-19 vaccines to faculty and staff, and they also provide athletic trainers in both of our middle schools. And this evening, Ms. Tammy Gillen, Director of Community Relations, and Delina Brockman, Executive Director of Operations, will come up and accept this award.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Get right there in the middle, ladies. One more.
Thank y'all.
Get shorter today. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Next, the board will recognize the January Pursuit of Excellence Award winner in the category of leadership. And this year's winner is Ms. Shelby Hilly. Ms. Hilly will receive a $50 Visa gift card and golf umbrella provided by Peach State Federal Credit Union and a $50 gift card from Chops and Hops. A commemorative plaque from Oconee County Schools will also be presented. Please come up, Ms. Hilly. Woo. And now, Ms. Hilly, we are pleased to share with you what your colleagues had to say when they nominated you for this award. So here's what they said. First, Mrs. Hilly really shines at her job. She is professional at all times and always puts the school first. I've learned so much from her in the time that she has been here, and I look forward to what the future holds for her. Next, Shelby Hilly has an open door anytime if any teacher needs support, mentoring, advice, or guidance. She continuously attends professional development and seeks out the guidance and expertise of others. Her organizational skills, ability to effectively communicate with multiple staff members, parents, and students amaze me. She is truly an asset to Oconee County Schools. And then from Principal Tony McCullers, this is what he had to say. Mrs. Hilly is in her third year as the assistant principal of Collin Ferry. She began her administrative career in the midst of the pandemic. To put it lightly, she was thrown in the fire immediately as a building level leader, but accepted the challenge and grew immensely. Through it all, she has remained observant, flexible, and positive. In a short amount of time, Mrs. Hilly has become an invaluable educational influence in regards to Collin Ferry's culture and academic expectations. She has the professional drive, motivation, organization, and desire to help others as a servant leader. These are the characteristics of an effective administrator, and I am so proud of Mrs. Hilly for being named this year's Pursuit of Excellence recipient for leaders in our system. Congratulations.
No tears until we win.
Next, the board will recognize the GHSA 3A Oconee County High School Girls Cross Country Team. They won 3rd place. First, we'll call up coaches Jake Forrester and James Norton to come on in, and then we'll call in the students. And now the students: Sydney Matthews, Kinsley McConnell, Molly Meeks, Ellen Patterson, Mary Matthews, Emma Champer, Leah John, Abby Provost, and Addie Bear. Congratulations, ladies. All right, here we go. Thank you.
Congratulations.
And next up, volleyball. The 3A GVCA Player of the Year for Oconee County High School is Grace Wenrick. Come on in, Grace. And we'd also like to ask her coach, Mark Oglesby, to come forward. And I also want to mention that we're recognizing Mr. Oglesby because he is the 3A GVCA Coach of the Year.
Wow.
All right. And that concludes this evening's recognition.
Thank you so much.
It looks like the next item on our agenda is Points of Pride, and we have Collin Ferry Elementary School.
I call this the Collin Ferry Show today, right? Good evening, everyone. We're excited tonight to showcase all of the great things that's happening at Collin Ferry Elementary School. As you can see, if our crowd is remaining, I have assembled my championship team who will help me tell the Mustang story. So, what's going on at Collin Ferry? One word: improvements. We're very excited about the new addition on our campus. This was the motivation for this year's theme for the faculty and students at Collin Ferry. Being a former coach, I love a motivational theme or saying. Finish the drill. Commit to the G. Well, this year at Collin Ferry, we're building a better Collin Ferry Elementary School. This theme is not based on the need to fix things, but instead, it is based on our desire to constantly improve our knowledge base and our instructional practices. I'm not going to pass it over. Luckily for you, I brought some friends along here. I'm going to pass it over to our Pursuit of Excellence award-winning assistant principal, Ms. Shelby Hilly. That's a good title, right, Shelby? Who will highlight the achievements made in the last year and detail the academic priorities for this school year.
It does have a nice ring to it. Alright, so I just want to share a little bit with you about a few of our celebrations and areas of focus for this school year. So first we have assessment. The outstanding level of instruction and rigor in the classrooms of Collin Ferry was very evident through our milestone scores. The scores for 5 out of the 7 end of grade assessments were either at or above the system average. We're very proud of that. Additionally, our strong math and science scores support the quality work that we are doing through our STEM program. Our next area is PBIS. At Collin Ferry, we are working through our very first year of implementation of the responsive classroom. Several of our teachers and parapros received training this summer, and we will continue to bring this workshop to more staff members this coming summer. Establishing morning meetings across our campus has been a welcome addition and truly supports our school culture. Initiatives like our new book vending machine continue to bring life to our PBIS program. Next is the area of gifted education. 18 of our teachers are participating in the Gifted Endorsement Program this year. And so at the end of this school year, Collin Ferry will be whole school gifted certified. Next is Title I. We remained eligible for this program this year and extended our coverage to support students across all grade levels. We aim to focus on the area of math, and we're using these federal funds to provide math tutors for our Title I students and to build up our math intervention program. Next is STEM. Collin Ferry is up for recertification through STEM Georgia this year. We have worked tirelessly to strengthen our PBLs and the work that our students do through STEM journaling. You'll hear more about that in just a moment. Mr. McCullers and I are beyond proud of our teachers and students, and we love watching them show off for our evaluators. And then finally, the area of evaluation. Our paraprofessionals initiated some great work that took place with our leadership team this summer. We spent some time analyzing the parapro evaluation and determining opportunities where they might receive a level 4 on their summative evaluation. And for our teachers this year, Mr. McCullers and I established a content focus for our TEKS walkthroughs. So this approach has allowed us to specifically evaluate small group instruction in both reading and in math, as well as opportunity to assess the use of our instructional programming. So both of these have helped really make our evaluations more intentional this year. Who's coming up first? All right, well, we are now going to spotlight our 3rd grade PBL. As I shared, we've been working so hard on our STEM recertification this year. So we have the 3rd grade team coming up to tell you all about their project-based learning. And up first we have Ms. Gerber and Mr. Connor. Hey, I'm having so much trouble with this mouse.
I think it's not working, so we need to go down one.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. All right.
Hello, so I'm Miss Gerber and this is Connor. He's one of my students. So this year we have embarked on a PBL project that's taking the entire school year. We began the year in our humanities class at Collin Ferry. We switched classes, so my class is reading, writing, and social studies. So during that time, we began our unit with reading a book called Beatrice's Goats. And Connor's going to share with you what happens in this story.
So this is what happens. It started a place in Africa in Uganda, and there was a family, and they had a daughter named Beatrice. And Beatrice, they had school, but she always wanted to, but she can't since they can't afford enough money. And so one day, her mom said, they're one of the people who receive a goat from somewhere, and that goat, it changed the girl's life too, since she always wanted to go to school, since she made the milk, and they got to sell it to make money, and they used the babies to rebuild their house. And when they had enough money, they could let her go to school.
So what we did is we focused on the story first. We compared our lives to Beatrice in Uganda. We compared where she lives to Watkinsville. We did a lot of Venn diagrams to do that. Also, if you look back here on our slide, we did some things like we made a connection to Heifer International, which is a program that will provide animals to families that qualify for those to help them do become sustainable like Beatrice's family. Beatrice is a real person that we were able to watch an interview. She's not a make-believe character, so we watched an interview with her and learned about what happened to her as she came to America to attend college after she was able to earn enough money to go to school. And Connor's going to show you just a little bit more up here about some things that we did.
And Mrs. Gerber's husband brought goats from their own, so they lived on a farm, and we got to see two of them. One of them was named Skittles, but I forgot which was the other.
So we were able to, they could see them in real life. They were able to feed them, pet them, kind of watch them because one of them was really active and the other one was not so active and he was kind of hiding. So that was fun that day, I think. Yeah. Okay, so tell me next.
And our STEM journals are we were writing about what was the same and what was different, and we did some research about her, and then we drew a picture of like their symbol of like their flag, and then we got to I feel like in the library we did like some research about the goats, and then we got to draw a picture on it, and then
What we did in social studies.
and then in social studies we learned map skills to locate facts about Uganda.
So we used latitude and longitude and every standard that we could tie in as far as research, writing, social studies was all blended in this type of classroom. And then we're going to hand it over to the math science.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Geckritz. I'm a STEM math teacher at Collin Ferry, and this is one of my students, Caroline. We're here to talk more about the math and science portion of our PBL. So I'm going to, over in third grade, in the first semester, we learned a lot about soils and temperatures. So as a class, we discussed and compared soils in Uganda to soils in Georgia. We discussed how the temperatures are different here and there. And of course, we used our math to produce some data on these temperatures and create graphs, which is also a third grade standard. We were lucky to have some community partners like Dr. Farah come in and talk to us about his experience in Kenya and Uganda with the Boscovet project. He goes and vaccinates many of the livestock there to help. So it was great to get a real life examples to relate to what we're doing. In third grade STEM, we also do something called the Adopt a Cow program, where we actually work with the Dairy Foundation and we adopt a local cow. And our cow is actually a little bit down the road in Madison County. Her name is Snowball, and we learn all about her, how they produce milk, and we kind of relate that back to what Beatrice does with her goats. And then we are using area and perimeter to design goat pens for Beatrice. We're using our geometry, our multiplication. We're using our addition and subtraction to calculate how to raise money for the Heifer Foundation. Lots of different math standards are involved. This semester we are learning about Georgia regions, so we're relating it back to how our regions in Georgia are similar to Uganda landscapes and habitats. And it's just a lot of fun. And so I'm going to let Caroline kind of talk more about what we've been doing.
We figured out the temperature in Uganda, and we compared the difference between
the Georgia temperature and the Uganda temperature. We also, Dr. Farrar talked to us and showed us pictures of what they have in Uganda and what kind of animals there are. And we added up how much money it costs to make the goat ornaments that we sold to buy a goat for people in Uganda. We made the ornaments by, we used pieces of wood, and then we painted a wreath around a goat stamp, and then we sold them for money for parents of the third graders, and then we're going to see if we have enough money to buy a cow or a goat.
We're going to pass it on to some more information about our PBL.
Thank you.
All right, lastly, we integrated our arts and our music programs, including our media specialist, our art teacher, our music teacher, into some of the Uganda and the African culture. And then our children had a really great time creating the ornaments.
Mm-hmm. And Caroline spoke about that a little bit, but they're really, really excited. We're kind of in the middle of this right now, adding up the funds that we were able to raise. And Caroline and Connor brought them so everyone on the board can
get an ornament, and you can think about us every year and how the things that we're doing in Watkinsville spreads throughout the world.
And we're not adopting a goat for us. We're sending one through the foundation, Heifer Foundation to Uganda to help another family, or two. We're not sure yet.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I think you would agree that was much more a better presentation than I could have ever given there. A lot of great things going on at Collin Ferry. Third grade is just an example. Just the great collaboration going on between our subject areas, including our art, music, and PE folks. And it's great to base anything on literacy and reading, and we're definitely promoting our STEM program and working really hard for that STEM recertification. So just the last few words here, we can't say it enough. Thank you, Board of Education, for your constant support of our students, our teachers, the faculty, staff of Collin Ferry Elementary School. So at this time, if you have any questions, I'm sure my team would love to answer. If not, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Superintendents Report.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr.
That
Branch.
does conclude our Points of Pride and recognition. So now is a great time for folks to go get ready for an event I hear is going to happen. With that, the Superintendent's Report will be 2 words, go dogs, and I'm going to yield my time to the remainder of our staff.
Next, we have presentations and discussions and teaching and learning report. I see we have Dr. Stansel with us.
Yes. Good evening, board members. The January 2022 Teaching and Learning Report contains 1 item of information and 3 action items. The first item of information is an update on the Manufacturing Institute that OCS students recently participated in. Oconee County Schools Special Education Department had 16 juniors and seniors participate in a 3-day Manufacturing Institute in December of 2021. As the manufacturing industry in our state grows, the need for skilled workers grows with it. The Manufacturing Institute is an exciting opportunity for students to gain industry-recognized certifications that can result in them being more marketable to employers. I also would like to commend Suzanne Korngold for her work on coordinating this annual event. The first action item for the January Board of Education meeting is a new firewall. Oconee County Schools posted a request for proposal for a new firewall on November 12, 2021 and closed on December 15, 2021. The new firewall will allow for increased security and capacity as our student population and number of devices continues to grow. The superintendent's recommendation is for the Board of Education to approve purchasing a new firewall from Cirrus Networks, the low bidder, at the January 10th, 2022 Board of Education regular session based on the required E-rate rubric for $89,098.05. This will be paid using ESSER and E-rate funds. The second action item for the January Board of Education meeting is network cabling for the new middle school. Oconee County Schools posted a request for proposal for network cabling for middle school number 3 on November 16th, 2021 and closed on December 16th, 2021. This network cabling will provide network access for the internet, intercoms, security cameras, and phones. The superintendent's recommendation is for the Board of Education to approve purchasing the cabling and installation from Transcend at the January 10th, 2022 Board of Education regular session based on the required E-rate rubric for $164,270. Transcend is the low bidder that met all specifications. These will be paid for using general fund and E-rate funds. The third action item for the January Board of Education meeting is the learning management system. As you know, the district's current learning management system, It's Learning, will no longer be providing their platform to school districts in the United States. This year, we conducted an extensive review of learning management systems. The review committee included teachers, school leaders, and district leaders. The committee selected Canvas as the top choice for the new learning management system. Most colleges, universities, RESA, and the Georgia Department of Education have all migrated to this platform. Dr. Buck shared at the December board meeting that a recommendation for the new learning management system would be presented at the January Board of Education meeting. Oconee County Schools posted a request for proposal for Canvas on December 1st, 2021 and closed on December 30th. This will be the new learning management system for Oconee County Schools, and the spring timeline will allow teachers time to migrate appropriate resources. The superintendent's recommendation is for the Board of Education to approve purchasing Canvas from Instructure at the January 10th, 2022 Board of Education regular session for $30,500. Instructure was the only bidder and met all specifications. This spring conversion cost of $30,500 will be paid for using ESSER funds. That concludes my report, unless there are any questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next report is operations, and looks like Mr.
The Oconee County Schools Operations Division January Board Report contains 3 action items and 3 items of information and no action items. Let's start off with the energy report. November energy report shows a trend decrease in usage. Overall, Mr. Breidenbach and his maintenance team worked diligently for us to achieve the lowest known kilowatt hours usage on record. Our next item of information is lead custodial meeting. The December lead custodian meeting was held on Thursday, December 9th, and was hosted by a team at Oconee County Primary School. Our custodian team met. Teams are to be recommended for the rigorous work ensuring that our schools are clean for health. Our third item of information is the construction update. Colin Ferry, the block work is complete and the roof is being installed this week. The electrical and mechanical subcontractors are installing wiring and ductwork. Brick installation is to begin in the coming weeks. The next one is High Shoals. The foundation and slab are complete. The contractors are now waiting for the steel package to arrive in March. And new middle school number 3, site clearing and grubbing is underway. The contractor is doing submittals and ordering materials. The construction office has been set up and erosion control measures are being installed. Site work will continue in the coming weeks as the site is shaped and prepared for the foundations in the building pad. And that concludes operations report.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Peterson.
Thank you.
Next, we have student services. Dr. Dallas Liddell.
Good evening, Dr. Branch, members of the board. The Student Services Report contains 5 items of information and 1 action item tonight. The first item of information is our COVID-19 update. As you know, we continue to have regular communication with the Georgia Department of Public Health regarding the status of COVID-19 in our community. The current rolling average in Oconee County is 65. The vaccine rate is 62% fully vaccinated and 66% of residents with at least 1 dose. Ages 5 to 9, the rate is 20.3, and ages 10 to 14, the rate is 39.9. As I'm sure you are also aware, the Georgia Department of Public Health issued a new administrative order to align with the latest recommendations of the CDC. The main changes in that order is a reduction of isolation and quarantine periods to 5 days from 10 days. One thing that did not change is there is still not a requirement to quarantine for individuals if their point of exposure happens in a school setting. So that's one thing that's been consistent throughout the year, and that remains in the new order. Dr. Branch and I were also able to participate last week on a conference call with other superintendents across the country, the United States Education Secretary, the United States Surgeon General, as well as the CDC. The main takeaways from that call was that all students should be afforded the opportunity to attend in-person instruction 5 days a week, and that school closures and prolonged quarantines were far too disruptive for students. The CDC also stated that vaccinations were the leading COVID control strategy. The second item of information is school nutrition participation. Happy to report that we're continuing to see an increase in participation. We were up 4.5% for breakfast when compared to last December, and 12.5% for lunch. The third item of information is school choice. As you all know, the school choice window is currently open. We'll be taking applications on or before January 21st, 2022, and decision letters will be mailed no later than January 28th, 2022. The fourth item of information is Secret Santa. As we've done in previous years, our school counselors and social workers coordinated holiday support from our community for the families of Oconee County schools. Through their efforts, over 600 families were served through our holiday assistance programs. I'd like to especially thank the Oconee Rotary Club and the Oconee Area Resource Council for their support and partnership as we administered those programs again this year. The fifth item of information is our graduation dates and times. We were able to secure Stegman Coliseum again this spring for graduation. The North Oconee High School graduation will be at 3 p.m. on May 21st at Stegman, and Oconee County High School will be at 7 p.m. on May 21st at Stegman. And the action item is a field trip. The North Oconee High School golf team would like to travel to Greenwood, South Carolina to participate in the golf tournament. That concludes the Student Services Report, unless there's any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Business Services. We have Ms. Liz Harlow.
Good evening, board members. The first, Business Services has 8 items of information for tonight's board meeting. The first item of information is the cash balance report for December. The second item of information is a list of all vendors paid in December. The third item of information is the budget report for December. Revenues and expenditures continue to be where we would expect at this time of year. The fourth item of information is the ELOS collections report. The rolling average is 19% over the previous year, and November's collections are 21% over the previous period last year. The next item of information is the board report for ELOS 5, and as every month, the revenues and expenses have been updated as of December 31st. The next item of information is the board report for ELOS 6. This is a new report that Business Services will be updating each month. Revenues and expenses have been updated as of December 31st. The next item of information is the required ELOS advertisement. This was advertised in the Oconee Enterprise on December 30th, and all requirements were met. And the last item of information is the federal funds report for December. The report has been updated as of December 31st of this fiscal year. And that concludes my report unless there are any questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have communications. Ms. Anissa Hernandez.
Good evening. The Oconee County Schools Communications Board Report contains one item of information and one action item. The item of information is our monthly highlights video. Get that mic, please. That seems so long ago. Tonight's action item is the naming of middle school number 3. The superintendent's recommendation is for the Board of Education to approve the naming of middle school number 3 as Dove Creek Middle School. The reasons for this recommendation are as follows. 1. Currently, OCS is home to 2 middle schools, Oconee County Middle School and Malcolm Bridge Middle School. Both are named consistent with their closest elementary feeder school, that is Oconee County Elementary School and Malcolm Bridge Elementary School. Naming middle school number 3 Dove Creek Middle School aligns with this long-standing practice as its closest feeder school is Dove Creek Elementary School. 2. A bit of background on the naming of Dove Creek Elementary School. In 2017, over 200 name suggestions were submitted by the community for elementary school number 7. Dove Creek Elementary School was the unanimous choice of the board, as research revealed that there was a one-room schoolhouse in Oconee County that was named Dove Creek. It was closed in the late 1920s when schools began to consolidate. That school, that Dove Creek one-room school, was actually located in the same vicinity that is currently home to Dove Creek Elementary School. And so it is for those reasons that we are putting this recommendation forward that the superintendent has in front of you. And that concludes my report unless there are any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have communications to the board, and I understand we do have some that have signed up. So let me share this. The board allows 3 minutes for those who sign up at the meeting. You must be a current resident of Oconee County to address the board. Please state your name, address, and topic. The board requests that you refrain from making any disparaging remarks about school system personnel. Generally, there will be no response to comments or questions posed by citizens at the meeting. All comments and questions will be received and taken under advisement by the board. However, any member of the board shall be free to respond and make public comments if he or she elects to do so. And first we have
Mr. Richard Turner.
Mr. Turner.
Hello. Back again. Hello, folks. Just wanted to thank you all again for having an exceptional school system and supporting it, supporting the liberty of people to be able to make the choice to attend school without having to be mandated to wear face diapers or, quarantine if they get sick or what. I have been chastised by my family for the last suggestion I made because I used my granddaughters as a sort of a story about face masks and how she was suffering from a headache after the first school day, but I'm probably going to get in trouble for that right now. But face masks, the most recent study out of Finland shows that they basically make no difference. I mean, you wear a mask, you don't wear a mask, you got just as much chance of catching a virus and these were healthy people that they started with. This is a 6,000 person study. So face masks are, if you want to wear one, fine. I don't have a problem with it. You want to put stuff in your ears and pierce yourself, do whatever you want, as long as it's not intruding on what I want to do. But when it comes around also to vaccinating children with an experimental chemical, I get kind of upset. And we see sports figures, children falling on the floor in the middle of games, movie stars, news reporters passing out, falling in the middle of a presentation. And just recently, after being vaccinated or hit up with another booster, we are in the middle of a scam-demic, in my opinion. And anything y'all can do to allow us to have the freedom to make the choice to control our own health, I applaud it. And I applaud y'all for what you have done. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Next,
Mr. John Phillips.
Mr. Phillips.
John Phillips, 1040 Creekstone Lane. Coney County Schools applied for American Rescue Plan, or ESSER 3 funding on June 3rd, 2021, and was awarded $3.4 million in federal aid to help with COVID prevention, mitigation, and recovery. In the application, OCS certified several required assurances. The first assurance is that LEA, that's Local Educational Agency, that's you, assures that ARP ESSER funds will be used for their intended purposes, including whether and how they will use the funds specifically for COVID-19 prevention and mitigation strategies. Since June, OCS has purchased Chromebooks, school buses, and classroom projectors with ARP funds representing $1.4 million. Each of these purchases has been approved by the board, yet there has been no discussion or explanation of how or if these purchases relate to COVID prevention, mitigation, or recovery. Second, OCS assured that during the period of the ARP ESSER award, the LEA, no less frequently than every 6 months, will review and, as appropriate, revise its plan. The LEA will seek public comment on the development of its plan. The LEA will seek public input and take such input into account in determining whether to revise its plan and on the revisions it makes to its plan. OCS posted a revised plan dated November 8, 2021, yet there has been no public comment process whatsoever. The public was not invited to provide comments on the development or revision of the plan. Others are following the law, for example, Jefferson and Clayton County Schools. Why aren't you? According to the law, public input must be, quote, meaningful consultation with stakeholders, including students, families, and those representing the interests of children with disabilities, English learners, children experiencing homelessness, and so forth. This means more than a simple web-based survey or some so-called advisory group or cherry-picking social media comments. The third assurance that OCS certified is that the revised plan will address each of the aspects of safety currently recommended by the CDC. OCS has failed to address recommendations by the CDC. In fact, you state in the application the plan is updated to CDC guidelines. That's on page 15. But that is clearly a false statement. OCS does not follow CDC guidelines in several significant ways, including no universal indoor masking, no physical distancing, no masking on school buses, no screening testing. Therefore, OCS is out of compliance with the requirements of the ARP ESSER 3 federal grant award. An investigation should be undertaken without delay to determine if there has been fraud, waste, and abuse. Finally, it should not take a parent to be your compliance officer. Someone has failed to do their job, and leadership at all levels has failed to provide proper oversight. Where is the accountability the voters of this county are asking?
Thank you. Next,
Mr. David Lawrence.
Mr. Lawrence.
Ms. Argo, the board, Mr. Brandt, Dr. Brandt, excuse me. Don't start yet. Get my glasses on, Joe. Hi, David Lawrence, Bishop, Georgia, 175 Hillsborough Road. Hopefully Oconee County Schools is a team. I really mean that. Hopefully we are a team. Parents, students, faculty, staff, administration, and elected officials. We should all work together for the good of everyone, but mostly for our students. We are all teammates working for the betterment of the school system. Concerns and questions brought forth at any level and at all levels should be viewed as opportunities for improvement. We citizens very much appreciate hearing back from you. The Office of the Superintendent, Board of Education members, assistant superintendents, etc. When we send an email, make a phone call, or address you all publicly like I'm doing now. Hearing back rarely happens. It rarely happens in a timely manner, if at all. Last week, however, a board member was very helpful in their response to my concern. Just a brief note to parents, concerned citizens, me, such as thanks for your input, would be appreciated. So what's the policy of the BOE and the superintendent's office in handling a complaint about a federal act not being followed? I just heard from Mr. Phillips something similar. When a complainant brings forth a concern, it should be handled at whatever level is appropriate. Building level, teacher level, whatever. But I feel the BOE needs a firm policy in regards to concerns involving possible violations of constitutional rights or federal and or state laws. Did the former chairman of the board of Ed know this FCA bulletin board at OCMS was cause for concern? Did the BOE members know? At any rate, thanks for eventually following through on the, let me get this right, Freedom from Religious Foundation letter involving a student-initiated religious club using a bulletin board without proper labeling. It's easy to forget sometimes in this mostly homogeneous community that some citizens, teachers, parents, and students are embarrassed and or fearful to bring forth their concerns because they are not in the majority, and some fear repercussions. Despite who complained about the FCA bulletin board, the building administrator should have handled it immediately. And maybe they did, but it is not a good look when there is no response to a civil rights group advocating for a citizen who felt like something was amiss at one of our schools. Why a 5-month delay in response to this potential violation of a First Amendment right? Come on, team, we can do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
Yes, ma'am, that's all.
Thank you. Looks like next are action items.
Yes, ma'am. As the board is aware, each January we put forth our board attorneys for support and guidance, and so we are recommending to retain Paul Booth Smith, PC, and Harbin, Hartley, and Hawkins, LLC as legal counsel representatives for 2022.
We need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Ransom,
Second.
second, Ms. Parrish, all in favor? Passes 4-0.
It's also time for the board to elect a vice chair and legislative liaison for the 2022 year.
I think Miss Amy's been doing, I'm sorry, I think Amy's been doing a great job. And I nominate Amy to continue as the vice chair.
I'll second that nomination.
Can I get my thing to say Miss Amy?
Would you accept this position?
Yes.
All in favor? Passes 4-0.
Ten my favorite.
Next, we have legislative liaison.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll nominate Mr. Tim Burgess. It's what happens when you go to the Natty. Now, he had agreed, we discussed it earlier, he agreed to continue as our legislative liaison, so I'll nominate Mr. Burgess.
Second.
Mr. Bagley and Mr. Ransom, all in favor? Passes 4-0.
Okay, we recommend the North Oconee golf trip as presented.
We didn't need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
So moved. Second. We'll take care of both.
Second.
Mr. Bagley made the motion, Mr. Ransom second, all in favor? Passes 4-0.
Up next, we would recommend the naming of middle school number 3 to be Dove Creek Middle School.
So moved.
Ms. Parrish,
Second.
second, Mr. Ransom, all in favor?
Next, we have 3 technology items. If it pleases the board, we can take all those as one vote, or we can separate those out.
Well, we'll take them as one, thank you.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Okay, we'd recommend the Oconee County Schools firewall, the network cabling for what is now Dove Creek Middle School, and the learning management system Canvas as presented.
Need a
Motion to approve.
Mr. Ransom,
Second.
second, Ms. Parrish, all in favor? Passes 4-0. We do have a need to go into executive session and need a motion to do so.
I make a motion that the board will adjourn to executive session to discuss or deliberate upon personnel matters as described on the affidavit to be attached to the minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Parrish.
Second.
Second, Mr. Bagley, all in favor? Passes 4-0.